Welcome to another video on sustainability. In this video, we will look at the term net zero. So as we have seen in my previous videos, the greenhouse gases trap heat, causing the average surface temperature of the earth to go up. The more gases there are, the more the temperature rises. And once the greenhouse gases are in the atmosphere, they stay there for a long time. For example, 1/5 of the carbon dioxide emitted today will still be there for the next 10,000 years. So as of today, we are adding multiple billion tons of greenhouse gases to the atmosphere every year. And what we need to go towards is net zero. So what is net zero? Let's look at this term net zero. Now in the pre-industrial times, that is in 1850s, the Earth's carbon cycle was roughly in balance. That is, the plants and other things absorbed as much greenhouse gases as we emitted. So earlier, that is in 1850s, what used to happen is there were of course some greenhouse gas emissions, but the plants and other things were able to absorb all of that. So the balance where we are not adding any more greenhouse gases than the amount we are taking out is known as the net zero state. That means the net addition of greenhouse gases is zero. So whatever gases are being emitted are being absorbed by the plants and other carbon sinks. So this balance is called the net zero. That means there is zero net addition of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. But then we increased our usage of natural resources like fossil fuels. These are mostly made of carbon, and as we burn them, we emit extra carbon and add to the total amount in the atmosphere. So earlier in the pre-industrial times, there was a balance and we were kind of in a net zero state. However, over the period of time, we have increased our usage of natural resources like fossil fuels, and this has brought the imbalance in situation where our greenhouse gas emissions is much more than what we are taking out. Now over the last 40 plus years, there have been a lot of discussions on these natural environmental issues since the first UN conference on the human environment at Stockholm in 1972. Since then, there have been a number of events and meetings to raise the environment and climate concerns, including the Brundtland Commission in 1987, then the UN Earth Summit at Rio de Janeiro in 1992, where it was declared that the polluters should pay the cost of pollution. After that, in 1997, Kyoto Protocol set targets for greenhouse gas emission reductions. Post this, there were many other follow-on events. In late 2015, a summit was held in Paris known as COP21. In this, nearly 200 countries signed a legal agreement to limit temperature rises to below 2 degrees Celsius and at 1.5 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. This means that the countries need to bring down the greenhouse gas emissions to net zero by 2030 and seek a balance between human-caused emissions and removals by carbon sink. So basically, you must have seen a lot of organizations stating that we will get to net zero by 2030. So that is because of this background. And basically what we need to do is seek a balance between the emissions and removals by carbon sinks. Now what are carbon sinks? So carbon sink is anything that absorbs more carbon from the atmosphere than it releases. So net it is absorbing more carbon than it releases. For example, plants, forests, ocean and soil are some examples of carbon sinks.